Hey guys, at my day job here. I just want to do a quick video tutorial on how to prep your cool wheel and maintain it for the longest life possible. Thanks. Make sure that we go over everything and make sure that everything's nice and tight. You'll notice that these 8 bolts here seem to be loose when you push them down. That's just because they're spring loaded to allow the board to flex, which is perfectly normal. It's these 4 bolts right here. So come on in and take a look at this. Right here, these 4 bolts closest to the motherboard are the ones that were concerned on the old version, and we had to make sure they were tightened down. So we're going to do that again, and the way we're going to do that is just feeling for the holes right here on the other side, and when we find them, we're going to poke a hole and use a Allen key, the appropriate size Allen key, to make sure that we can tighten it down. To do that is when you're reaching or grabbing your toolbox, it's a flathead screwdriver. It's just So now we have our screwdriver. We're going to stick the screwdriver right here against the nut and the cage to the battery, because I haven't found the socket yet that fits around that nut without the battery cage harness interfering with getting the socket all the way down. So the easiest way to do that, as Andrew Penman, I'm sure many of you guys have seen his videos, and if you haven't, check him out and subscribe to him. He fully goes in depth of all the cool wheels, and he's up to date as much as I am. Jam the screwdriver in between the nut and the battery harness, and then go ahead and screw or tighten it down until it's tight. Now, something that I noticed on the old board that you want to be aware of is when you are tightening it down, just go ahead and make sure that the battery's in there first before you tighten it down, because you can make it too tight and you won't be able to get the battery in and out. So what else do we need to talk about? Oh, the other thing that I had an issue with on the last board was the motherboard actually cracking at the 4 posts that connected to the board. All 4 posts cracked off, the motherboard fell out, and I was left stranded walking. Cool Wheel USA completely backs their product. Awesome company. Totally will work with them forever on this board. Super excited to have the new version. And that was because my other motherboard broke. They went through everything with me and made sure that I was completely happy and satisfied with their product, and I am. So what I'm doing this time around is I went and got some really jelly risers. They're only about an 1/8 inch. I want to say they're an 1/8 inch thick, but they're super jelly, and I'm just going to go ahead and add them to the current risers on the board. That way I can dampen some of that vibration, so I don't have the same issues as I did last time. Last time I just went with the stock risers, and as you can feel them, they're pretty stiff. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more cushion for that. Another awesome new design to this board is the changeable wheels. I haven't gone and done that yet. Obviously, it's a brand new board, don't need to do it. But when it comes time, I hear it's just looks like 6 screws on the back side of the wheels, and possibly this front one. I'm not sure yet. It might be that you don't even need to take off the front one, and the wheel will slide off and back on. There's not having to deal with both sides of the board for that.
My ups, my downs, my lows, I feel like getting high, you already know. I'm trying to get away, so let's go. I'm living with my ups, downs, lows. I'm living with my ups, my downs, my lows. I feel like getting high, you already know. I'm trying to get away, so let's go. I'm living with my ups, downs, lows. Told the girl in the sky blue, you and your girl you could ride through. One's tall but the other's like 5'2". Anything you need I provide you. I'm smoking weed in new jeans, looking out the window burning cigarettes through screens. Had an epiphany, I care about 3 things: music and drugs and the love that you bring. I'm twisted, I'm drunk, it's been a couple months. You haven't called me once. Used to smoke L's when I kiss you on your windowsill. I don't even smoke blunts.
Alright, so now that we got the riser pads installed, it should be a little bit better of a ride. Just make sure everything just feels tight. and of course, you know, periodically check up on it to make sure that it is tight. Cool, we'll check on these 4 bolts. Let's go ahead and put the battery in. So battery comes with a little cover on it. Just remove the cover before inserting it, and that way you don't sit here trying to figure it out and it doesn't work and you're wondering why. It's just because it comes with a little cover. Make sure you don't throw this cover away, because when you travel on an airplane, you do have to protect the terminals. It's part of the regulation. So when you fly with the battery, any type of LiPo battery, you're supposed to protect the covers and keep it with you on the airplane, even if you check your skateboard. Slides right in, nice and soft and easy. I just like to give it a couple taps to make sure it's in there, because when it comes to putting on these bolts over here, they come in a Ziploc bag. You gotta respect China's packaging. And so not only do you get a bag for your bolts, but you have a bag to take a sandwich to go. Just make sure you're always like being careful hand threading these in. You don't want to cross thread them. I find that sometimes I have to actually push on the battery pretty tight in order to get them to go in without feeling like you're cross threading them. So just kind of jam the board up against your leg or a wall or something and push it in. That's why I give it a couple of those taps. And you can definitely feel it when it does go in. Feel good. There. And just like that, easy, it should go in. You shouldn't have to fight it too much on the screw side. So again, I'm just going to hold that battery nice and tight and work on the other side. Now you can take your pin and put the pin inside one of the bolt holes. It doesn't have to be super tight, okay, because you're not actually screwing the battery into the board. You're just screwing these bolts into the board, and there's a pin that sticks through some holes in the battery. It doesn't actually screw together. It's just holding it from sliding. So you don't have to like cringe it down tight. It's not going to make the battery any tighter or less tight based on your bolt. So let's just go ahead and put it down until it's snug. And if it's snug and this pin is not straight, we'll go ahead and just back it out until it is straight. And then do the same to the other side. Just bring it down until it's nice and snug. We don't want to force it, right? I feel like I'm forcing it, so I'm just going to go ahead and back it out until it's straight. Once we do that, we'll just go ahead and throw the pin right through both bolts, just like that. If you watch one of Andrew Penman's videos on the old version, there's a couple of things that he does, which you can also do. If I can look around, you can go ahead and magically throw me that. There you go. So inside this bag, we got some rubberized weather stripping. You could just go ahead and put some weather stripping on the side of the battery here before you stick it in. And I just like to take mine and cut it at an angle. Matter of fact, I already cut a piece for it. And so what this does is when you go ahead and stick it in here, just kind of make sure it jams in between the harness there and the battery. And what that's going to do is keep it from wiggling at all side to side. So now with that being in there, it won't wiggle side to side. And once we get the battery in, we'll tighten up these bolts and it won't wiggle up and down here. Now remember, these 8 bolts are supposed to move. It's to allow the board to flex and the battery to flex away from the board, so that way it doesn't rip the bolts or snap the bolts or rip through the board.
I hope my